Do you want to stay as one of the mundanes? Or are you ready to open up to a whole new world? I have continued playing video games, and now I'm going to do something I haven't done in a little while, which is talk about one that I didn't stream on my Twitch channel. Maybe still consider checking out my Twitch channel, link down in the description. But in any case, I played Unavowed, which is a 90s style point and click adventure game that I rather enjoyed quite a bit. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit of a sucker for this kind of game just on principle. I played 90s style point and click adventures. Not a ton. This isn't pushing up roses. I'm not an expert on them. But I played my fair share. I loved Full Throttle. I enjoyed Curse of Monkey Island a great deal. I didn't get all the way through Grim Fandango. I think I lost interest and focused on my energies on Diablo 2 at the time. But I've enjoyed these games, these styles of games. And Unavowed is very much taking its cues from that. And from a technological level, it could totally have existed in the 90s. From a story content and occasional bit of graphic imagery level, probably wouldn't have existed in the 90s. But it's quite good. Now, you do have to enjoy this type of game because it is just, you point at stuff, you click at stuff, you go from room to room, you talk to people, you go through dialogue trees, you look for stuff to pick up, you take things and combine them with other things to get new things and then solve the puzzles. The puzzles are not very difficult. There are a couple, at least on my playthrough, of moments, but for the most part, it's pretty obvious once you've exhausted the possibilities of just what you can do in the areas you currently have access to. Once you have exhausted all the dialogue options with the people around you and looked at everything there is to look at, it's usually pretty obvious. That said, if you ever do find yourself stumped, you don't necessarily have to go running to a walkthrough or an FAQ. I'll get into the plot in a little bit, but the other characters, you are allowed to basically ask for hints, like, what do you think we should be doing next? And they won't tell you exactly what to do, but they'll basically indicate what thread you should be pulling on. Like, well, we were told, this, maybe let's check that out. And it'll be like, oh, so I got to go to the screen where that's going on and see what I can do there. So I found that helpful. There were a couple of times when I did consult a walkthrough, although in my defense, in some instances, that ended up being cases of I literally couldn't see the thing I was supposed to be interacting with. Some of the visuals are a little too dark for their own good. I had this, I'm starting to wonder if I need to adjust some of the settings on my computer, because I had the same problem with Death's Door, where I flat out couldn't see things if they were in heavy shadows, because it just all bled together. I gotta check my settings on that, because this is 2 games now. But for the most part, it moves really well. So plot-wise, you play a character. You do get to choose your gender. I'll leave the 2 binary choices. Yeah, what can you do? But you also get to decide what your background is out of 3 possible backgrounds, being a cop, a bartender, or a theater actor. And those choices don't massively change the game, but they do affect things a little bit. They affect the opening segment that you get, and also a couple of bits of dialogue here and there. But you select that, and the game, after an intro sequence, which gets harrowing. I've played through 2 so far. I played through the bartender and the actor. I haven't done the cop yet. But the intro sequence gets a bit harrowing. And after that, you find yourself being cleansed from having been possessed by, let's be honest, a Dresden Files knockoff, and a half djinn. And they are members of the Unavowed, and they have just exorcised you. and you find out that for the past year, you have been terrorizing New York, and you don't remember what you did, but it's real bad, and you can't undo any of it. You can't ever have your life back, but you can work with the Unavowed to try and correct as much of the supernatural damage as you can. Like, people have died, you can't bring them back. But there's lingering supernatural damage that you get. You basically are following your own trail to figure out what happened, how to solve it to the best of your ability, and hopefully properly capture the demon. Because it's been exercised from your body, but it's still out there. So that's your starting premise. And this is just really nicely done. It has just the balance that I would want from something with as serious a premise and tone and dark supernatural elements as this has, while remembering that the best of the 90s point-and-click adventure games were cheeky and funny at times. It never pulled a joke at a moment that felt truly inappropriate. Or if it did, it was at your choice. Like, sometimes you'll have a dialogue option like, that's really inappropriate. But if you picked that one, that's on you. That's not on the game. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. There's a number of cool things about it. And there's something that, like, I'm a little bit, it's both cool, but also I'm like, okay, I guess. I think ultimately I like it. Well, now what that is that you end up choosing who's going to come along with you on any given case that you go out on. And different characters have different skills. There's Eli, who's the fire mage, and he does fire stuff. Then there's Mandana, who is the half djinn, and she has a sword, and she is very nimble, can climb up things that you or Eli couldn't do, etc. And what's interesting is you don't need a certain character in order to progress. So you're never going to run into a case where you go to one of these places where you're trying to figure out what went on and find yourself going, oh, crap, I brought the wrong character. I have to go back to headquarters, get the other one. The things are actually arranged so that whoever you brought, there is a solution to the situation using them. And that's actually pretty well done because it never feels half-assed. There is a part of me in the back of my mind going, okay, but that basically means that there isn't like a core, this is like the way the story should be unfolding. And part of me as a would-be storyteller myself, I suppose I can say I am. I've published a novel, whatever. Link in the description for that. I did not mean to add a plug into that. Anyways, it's already there. What are you going to do? Edit it out? No, you're not. You're lazy. I'm talking to my own future self at this point. Anyways, part of me wants there to be like a definitive version of the story, and I think that's just not. I think part of that is from not having played adventure games since the 90s, early 2000s, where that is the case. And the branching path thing is a bit more of a thing now. So it is very well thought out and it's very well implemented. So I do like that. There's also an interesting thing where at various key points, you are going to make some very difficult decisions, like where the option, the ones that are given to you, neither one is good. Like, you have to make the best out of some bad choices. And again, there isn't a right or wrong answer. It's not like one of them is going to lead to a game over or soft lock your progress. Both of these are totally viable options when these sorts of things come up. But you are going to decide what one you're okay with, what one you want to have happen. Or if you're on your second playthrough, just the opposite of whatever you picked last time so that you can see how things change, which is what I'm currently doing on the second playthrough. But your first time, certainly, like, you're going to make the decisions and be like, okay, well, this is going to be what it is. And one of the things I find interesting is the game legitimately does not judge you. Because no matter which one you pick, your allies, when you talk to them about it, are going to say, I had reservations, but I think they'll either say, I think you made the right call, or they'll say, I get why you did what you did, and I think you made the best call you could. The game never judges you. And it really does leave it in a case of you are going to decide what your morals are. The game isn't. The game is not saying what is the right or wrong choice. Only you are. And I kind of like that because I've never been a big fan of the moral choice systems in games. So like one where whatever one you decide, that's the right one. Because you decided for you that this is what is right and this is what you're going to do. And the thing progresses forward as if, yes, that was the right choice. No matter which one you pick. And especially for a situation where there isn't a clear cut, like good and evil, there is a couple of options that are equally messy, just in different ways. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I dig that. There are multiple endings. There's also like ways in which the sort of the final stretch of the game gets impacted depending on which of those choices that I've been referencing you made earlier on. Yeah, again, nothing soft locks you or prevents you from being able to complete the game. But depending on the decisions you made, the way in which you complete the last stretch of the game will change in terms of what the options available to you are. So that's cool. As I said, there are 4 endings. I made my gut choice on I got so they're kind of ranked like best, good, bad, worst. On my first choice, I got what is considered to be the good ending. And I actually kind of like it a little bit better than the best ending, oddly enough. I don't know. It felt more fitting, more satisfying. And then, like, just for the heck of it, I went back and checked the bad and the worst ending. I'm like, yep, nope, didn't want that. And that's about those are the only decisions where the game is kind of gonna go, yeah, there are clearly better options for you here. But since it's the very last decision and like it auto saves right before you do that, you can immediately reload a save and pick a different one if you don't like what you got. And some can say that undermines the impact of the ending, but like for me it didn't. I liked the ending I got. It felt right. Voice acting is pretty solid. It's not amazing, but it's good. It's on par with what I'd want from a game like this. Pixel art's real nice, but it's not a little too dark. I enjoyed all the characters. Best by far. By far, though. I'm not going to explain who this is, because if you like point-and-click adventures, and if you don't mind them getting a little bit on the dark side, I am going to heavily recommend this game. But so I don't want to spoil this, but I'm just going to say KK. KK is the best. I love her so much. She is awesome. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. Like, I enjoyed it as I played it, but when I was done and I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I actually really, really like this, because I don't remember playing through an adventure game more than once out of anything other than like I was bored. So the fact that I finished it and almost immediately started a new playthrough just to see how things are different. And again, like ultimately the general progress of the story is the same. But to see the way the details change and the way it impacts future things, it's really cool. Oh, it is worth saying, I did run into a number of minor visual glitches where like the wrong sprite, like during a flashback where the wrong sprite displayed, or in like one case, the sprites didn't display at all, and I just heard the dialogue. It didn't make it impossible to follow, but I did get a couple of visual glitches like that. I didn't find it like it broke the game, but like there's a little bit of that. Only like 3 instances, I think, in the game. It's not super long. You want to burn through it. You could probably burn through it on a first playthrough 3-4 hours, depending on your own propensity for puzzle solving. Or and on a replay, you could like there's a skip. You can skip dialogue just by clicking the mouse. So like you can burn through a second playthrough real fast. In any case, have you played Unavowed? If you did, what do you think about it? If you haven't, what recent point-and-click adventure game have you enjoyed? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. Got the Patreon. That's how I pay my bills. Link down in the description as well as a bunch of other stuff that I've already alluded to. But don't worry too much about it. Like, share, subscribe helps me out as well, but that's okay too. No big pressure. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so just come on back next time you need a break. Patreon shout-outs. Thank you to Turok, Shane Ross, Oliver B., Melinda Walters, Robin Powell, Vernobulax, the Poodle, Edelon, Tracy Scrabbit, Dharma Michael Doyle, Vincent Paul Bartolucci, Angry Caspero, Adam Lefty Taylor, Robin Moore, Shayla Gourlay, and Bookworm. You can support me as well. Hear me mispronounce your name. Sure, I got some of those wrong.